Welcome back to 8 Metal Strings. Today we have our final video in our little series about motion, and we're going to talk about diagonal motion today. So what is diagonal movement exactly? It's a combination of horizontal movement and vertical movement on the fretboard. Hold on. So it combines moving this way along the neck and across the strings whenever you want to get from kind of a low point to a high point, or vice versa, I guess, a high point to a low point, and you want to do so quickly. This movement incorporates some of the horizontal motion principles of position shifting, as well as vertical movement principles of changing strings while we play. It can be used to do quick transitions between ranges on your instrument, and it can also be used to connect ideas that are on different areas of the fretboard. There are three main movements that we're going to focus on in this video, and the first two have to do with the hand. Those are going to be extension of the hand and compression as we travel up along the fretboard. The third motion is going to deal with the elbow, and that's going to be a leading motion with the elbow in order to move quickly in these large leaps. The exercises that I've made to work on diagonal movement all deal with these types of motions in different ways. So the first is going to work on this hand extension and compression that I was mentioning. The next exercise is going to work on the elbow guiding the arm up and down the fretboard. And the third exercise is kind of a practical example. So if we were to take a lick and transform it and play it with diagonal motion rather than kind of just horizontal motion or just vertical motion, how does that affect how it sounds, how it feels, and what you're trying to express? And as always, the PDF of these exercises is in the description below, so feel free to download it so you can follow along. Quick side note before we jump into today's video, I am offering lessons online now, so if you wanted extra help with any of these concepts or anything you're working on really, feel free to book a lesson online with me. And I even offer a 20-minute free consultation, so if you don't want to commit to anything long-term yet, we can see if we'd be a good fit for each other. With that said, let's get into some diagonal motion. Alright, so this first exercise is going to be a diminished arpeggio that travels diagonally across the neck from fret 1 to fret 12. We're going to use this to look at this idea of hand expansion and contraction. So in order to move position while holding a note, something has to give. Something has to move up or down, and in this case it's going to be the actual hand. So our first position, we're starting on fret 1 and going to fret 4 with our pinky. In order to start moving up the neck, we have to squeeze our hand together, and this is what I'm calling contraction. So once that pinky plays that 4th fret, it's going to hold and sustain the note. During that time, we're going to then contract the hand in order to bring that first finger up to the 2nd fret. So my hand is in a bit of a compressed position now. We can then release the pinky, play the note on the 2nd fret, and now the hand is going to expand back to its normal 4-fret spread. Okay, so the pinky then comes out to the 5th fret, and we're now in 2nd position. We repeat that, so the pinky plays the note, sustains it, we contract the hand, first finger plays fret 3 on string 6, and then the pinky can release its note, and we can expand the hand back out, and play fret 6. And just like that, we're in 3rd position. So we continue this pattern all the way up the neck. Contract, expand, contract, expand, contract, expand. Be careful when you go from string 3 to string 2. We're actually going to be contracting by 2 frets because of how the tuning is on the guitar in order to do the diminished arpeggio properly. So we do a big contraction, and also the frets are getting smaller, so it's going to feel really cramped here. But then we can expand back out to a 4-fret spread, contract, and expand. So without having to do any sudden or large position shifts, we've managed to get from fret 1 to fret 12. Now we're going to do the same thing but in reverse. So this time, the first finger is going to be the sustaining note, and then we're going to contract the hand and bring the pinky back a fret. And then expand outward with the index finger, back toward the headstock. And remember, between strings 2 and 3, we have to move 2 frets, so big contraction here with the pinky, and expand out backwards with the index. Contract, expand, contract, expand, all the way back down until we get to fret 1. Now, during this process, we have to have a loose thumb. I say this in every video because it's something you should always be doing when you're playing guitar. But in order to have that fluid motion, the thumb has to be super smooth on the back and just kind of sliding up as we move. And then sliding back down on the way back. Barely touching. My thumb is kind of like tapping in just for a second to support while the other fingers need to do their expansion or contraction, and then it lifts up again to get ready to move. Now the next line in exercise 1 is an augmented arpeggio. So it's the same concept, except we're going to be kind of expanding a lot more and contracting a lot more, and we're going to be covering a lot more ground. The whole exercise looks like this. So that exercise took me from fret 1 to fret 19, which is almost the entire neck, only playing 2 notes per string. So you can cover a lot of ground with this idea. But let's break it down a little bit and see how this one works. So right away we're going to do an expansion with the pinky. So unlike the diminished arpeggio where we played fret 1 and fret 4 on the lowest string, we're now going to play fret 1 and then fret 5. So it's a 1 fret expansion with the pinky. If you're looking at the PDF, that's what that means. Now, a 3 fret contraction means we're going to come up by 3 frets with that index finger. So we're going to come right behind the pinky to the 4th fret and play that note. Again, we want to sustain the note with the pinky while we move, or to mask any of that movement. Because if we stop playing the note, it sounds like we're doing a position shift. Okay, once we're here, we're in this contracted position. We have to do a big expansion all the way up to fret 8 with the pinky, and then big contraction to the next string to fret 7 with the index. Okay, so we have 1, 5, 4, 8, and if we keep going, 7, 11 on the next string. So you can kind of see it's a 4 fret spread whenever we're doing the expansion, and a contraction to be adjacent to each other. Now, when we get up to fret 16 and fret 20 on the 3rd string, we're kind of running out of frets, so instead of playing any notes on the 2nd string, we're going to do a string skip and play on string 1, fret 15 and fret 17. That way we don't have to kind of like squeeze the hand right up to the top, and you might not have 24 frets anyway. So we add a little string skip into the top range of this exercise. The descending motion is similar to the descending diminished, but again, just more exaggerated. So lots of hand motion in this one. Remember to try to sustain those notes as much as you can to hide the fact that we are changing positions while we're playing. The next line is a little bit different, but again, similar concept. We're going to be doing fifths. So our classic power chord shape, starting on fret 1, and we're going to use finger 1 and finger 3. Now we're going to be doing this and then replacing the 3rd finger. So we can think of this as like the kind of the most contracted position we can be, where we're replacing a finger on the same fret so that we can expand out to a new position. So we're going to play 1, 3, and then on the next string, 3, 5, contract and expand to 5, 7, 7, 9, 9, 11, 11, 14. Now you can use your pinky here if you want, or you can just keep going with your 3rd finger. And then 14, 16. And if you want, just cherry on top, you can do a big stretch at the top to go from 16 to 23, if you have the frets. And descending, same idea, except now we're going to be contracting backwards. Some guitar players kind of use this lick. I first encountered it with Steve Vai, and he'll do things like just to move up quickly diagonally on the fretboard, which is kind of a clever way to do it. And it sounds cool. So we're going to be doing a descending chromatic scale in the most inefficient way possible by moving across almost all the strings. This is not something I would normally do and play, but it is good for this exercise and good to practice these concepts. So the idea here is that we're expanding and we have to pull the elbow in to get this different hand shape where the pinky is always a little bit higher than the index finger. But otherwise this concepts still apply where we're going to contract in to an adjacent fret and expand back out, and then we're in a new position. So the frets are 1, and then we go to the next string down, 5, 4, then to string 3, 7, 6, string 4, 10, 9, string 5, 13, 12, string 6, we have 16, 15, and then string 7, we're going to stop here, doing 19 to 18. We could go up, but I kind of run out of room and it's a little awkward. Anyway, so we don't need to make this exercise worse than it already is. So contracting and expanding the hand is not the only thing that we have in our arsenal to move across the neck. They're really good when we want to be moving smoothly and just kind of hiding those position shifts, especially if we're only shifting 1 or 2 positions at a time. But what happens when we have to do larger jumps? That's when we have to use our elbow. So the elbow is going to guide the hand so that the hand doesn't have to do sudden jerky movements all the time to get where it needs to go. So on page 2 of the PDF, I have the second exercise. I have 3 little licks in different modes of C, and they all are going to take us between some positions pretty drastically. So the first one is in C Lydian, and it looks like this. So there are 9 notes in this exercise, and I'm going from fret 1 on the lowest string to fret 17 on the highest string. There is some string skipping, so if you want to work on string skipping and get that into your playing a little bit, check out our last video we did. But we're combining those ideas now, so we're skipping strings and doing these huge position leaps. So notice, before I even get to this second position I'm going to, my elbow is already way in. So when I just kind of like let my hand go, it wants to fall upward. Rather than having to push my elbow and hunch over the guitar and try to get my hand there, it just falls into place. So we do that expansion, the pinky to fret 5, elbow is pulling the arm up, and then we hit fret 5 super easily. Now, we're going to start moving once we play 5, 7, 8 on string 6. We start to pull the elbow in even more. And then it starts to make room for the hand to jump up to the higher strings, because we kind of can't go any further and pull the arm across this way. So we have to make a little bit of room, and it's almost like, well, a lever, I suppose, in that the elbow goes out and the hand comes in. So we're using the elbow in 2 different ways here, actually. It's guiding the hand up, and then once we kind of run out of room, it pulls back the other way so the hand can move forward. So I'll do it one more time here, and just watch the elbow to see how it helps my hand fall into position. The next one is in C Dorian, and it's a similar idea, except we're going to move up for the first half of it, and then we're coming on the opposite angle toward the lower strings for the second half. And it looks like this. So again, we're going to use the elbow for this one to help move through these like huge position leaps, but keep thinking about the hand expansion and contraction because we're in some spread positions for a while. So I started out with a big expansion, and the elbow is prepped to pull me into new position. And as I contract, the elbow pulls in to get me to the 6th fret. The next expansion happens while I land and I'm transitioning. So I get there and the pinky's going out to hit this next fret on fret 10. Then we can just do a simple contraction because we're already up in this territory around fret 7, fret 8, so the finger just has to come up to fret 8. And then we have a forearm rotation. So this is something we encountered in our vertical motion videos. And we're going to do a little sneaky contraction. where we didn't really have to expand much. We just kind of rotated to expand with the third finger, but a little contraction to get us up to fret 10. Big expansion, get to fret 50, and we're going to double that F on string 4, and then one final contraction and expansion to end up on fret 13. And the last one from this exercise is in C Mixolydian, so over like a C7, C9 kind of thing as a basic use. We're not moving quite as much in this one, so we're not going all the way from like fret 1 to fret 13, but we are moving in this kind of awkward direction that guitar players tend not to do as much in their playing, which is to move to lower strings while moving up the neck. So the lick looks like this. I think there's a few fingerings for this one, so do what feels right for you. You could do these first spreads if your hands are big enough with just finger 1, 2, and 3. Or you can do 1, 3, 4, which is kind of how I like to do the first one, and then the next one feels nice to do 1, 2, 3 for me. And now this last bit, you might notice I did a slide with my third finger from fret 14 to 15, but you can also do finger 2 to finger 3, or you can do an expansion if you want outward back to string 2, and then a huge expansion with the pinky, especially if you want to let those notes sustain together. So it's going to be up to you to figure out what works for your hands and your playing style. This lick incorporates some string skipping again, so you can work on a bit of pick control in this exercise as well. So the last exercise is a bit of a practical application. So I've written one lick 2 different ways. The first way does not use any diagonal motion, and it just uses some position jumps or horizontal motion between shapes. So the first version of the line looks like this. And the second version, with some smoothing diagonal motion, looks like this. So this lick is kind of based on an A minor or C major pentatonic scale, and the first version just uses these different cells of the scale. So we start in 5th position, and just go up the pentatonic scale, so 5, 7, 5, 8, 5. Then we move up to the next position, 9, 8, 10, 8, 10. Then we're going to move up a couple positions and go 14, 13, 15, 12, 15. Then the descending portion of the line is going to go 17, 12 on the first string. Second string is going to go 15, 13. And then back to the first string, 15, second string, 15, 13, third string, fret 12, and then we're going to skip down to string 5 and play fret 15, 14. So we have these different little isolated cells in this first version that are hard to move between, especially at higher tempos when we have to shift as quick as we're playing the notes. It's a little bit awkward, I find, especially this top fingering, even though it stays within like the pentatonic shape. Now this other version is a bit stretchier. You can see we're in an expanded shape right from the beginning, and we have to do some contraction to move up. Even with that first cell, what was originally just in one position, we are making it intentionally a little bit more challenging to help these transitions to new positions. That way, when we get to the second cell, we're already right there. So same idea for the next one. We're up to fret 15 now with the pinky, and it's very easy just to pull that middle finger up to play the first note of the third cell on fret 14. Heading into measure 3, the first part of this descending motion is the same in both licks. 17, 12, and then 15, 13. However, in the second version, we're going to maintain this expanded hand shape and just move down by 2 frets so that we can do the same kind of pull-off motion. Now here we're going to contract so that we're just nicely in position 10, And then we can do a nice sweep motion to finish descending the lick, rather than doing this awkward kind of fourth arpeggio shape thing with a string skip at the end, as in the first version. It's a lot smoother, at least for my hands, to do a nice little sweep to finish this off, and then to do a slide to get that last note, to avoid having any extra picking and to maintain like that nice perfect sweep. And that does it for our lessons on movement across the guitar neck. So if you learned anything useful in these lessons or enjoyed them, you can help with the channel by leaving a like or commenting on what you enjoyed most. Also, let me know in the comments what kind of stuff you'd like to see in upcoming videos. Now that these ideas are wrapped up, I have some time to explore some new concepts. You can also support the channel by buying me a coffee at the link down in the description. But with that said, that's all for me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and happy practicing.